Good morning, friends. Hold on there, John. Let's do this. So we're equals.
That's a little better.
My name's Drew Dougherty, and that's John Harris. We work for the Houston Texans, and we're here to answer your questions. So send them in now, please, because we want to hear from you. We want to answer as many as we can, and we want to talk about this big-time football game coming up between the Houston Texans and the Baltimore Ravens up there in Balto.
Yep.
Going to be a fun one, man. From 2010 through 2014, these two teams played pretty much every year. They played twice in 2011, and they were fun matchups. Baltimore won most of them, but the Texans got one in 12. They got one in 14. And I'm pumped for this one because Baltimore never had a quarterback like this.
Oh, no.
Flacco won a Super Bowl, but Flacco was not this electric.
No, it's a different kind of quarterback. Captain Obvious over here.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson's different than Joe Flacco. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. But when you're talking about a guy with 4.3 speed, can throw the ball 65, 75 yards down through the air, uses his tight ends very well, usually composed. He did throw one temper tantrum up at Seattle, but it ended up being a good one because he convinced John Harbaugh to go for it on fourth down. He ran the next play in for a touchdown on fourth down, and that was the key point in a big win at Seattle. But it's a matchup we saw in 2016 of Deshaun Watson at Clemson and Lamar Jackson at Louisville, and it was one hell of a game.
Yeah.
It was so much fun to go back and watch it this week. I haven't got all the way through it because I've been kind of focused on Ravens, but I wanted to go back and just remember what that night was like. Deshaun threw for over 300 and 5 touchdowns, ran for 91. Lamar threw for just under 300 and ran for 162 and 2 touchdowns. And it was back and forth all night. Clemson ended up coming up with the win. So hopefully our guy is on the winning side. But like you said, it's up there in Baltimore where that team is very difficult to beat, and they've been difficult to beat for the last 5 games.
You've never beat them in there in Baltimore, so this would be the first win in franchise history up there. Let's get to your questions. Joshua has a good one. Joshua wants to know, is Vernon Hargreaves...
Wait, hold on. Say Joshua right. You watched Friends? Joshua.
Or I go with the War Games, Joshua.
Ooh, that's good too.
That's a little older. There's like 7 of you out there that know what that means.
Friends has made a comeback, so people know. I cut you off. I'm sorry, Drew.
It's all right. I'm not a Friends fan. Joshua says, is Vernon Hargreaves going to play on Sunday? Yeah, I said it. Is Vernon Hargreaves going to play on Sunday? You know, he came out to practice after activation on Thursday, so don't know how much work he really got in.
Yeah.
If kind of the recent history holds, Texans have signed or acquired Garyon Conley, Brian Buddy Calhoun, Philip Gaines this season, and they were acquired during the week, and then that next Sunday they played some.
Right.
Not necessarily all at defense, some at special teams, and not the whole game necessarily, but they contributed. So if that holds, then yes, Hargreaves will probably play. Romeo Crennel said on Thursday, don't know if he'll play, but he's been a starter. He's capable of it, and we shall see.
Yeah, I don't know what the Sunday brings as far as that goes. If you end up wanting to play cat defense, then, yeah, you're probably okay. Like, you got that cat, I got that cat, you got that cat. Basically play man coverage.
Meow.
Okay, that's one thing. But the Ravens don't play receivers a lot of times. Last week Lamar had 17 passes, completed 15 of them. Of those 17 passes, the tight ends were the majority of the route runners.
Mm-hmm.
So all 3 tight ends ran more routes than the wide receivers did, and Marquise Brown has been banged up, and that's the guy really. If you need to stop a guy as a receiver for the Ravens, that's the guy you need to stop. And if you have Roby healthy, then that's probably a job that Bradley can take care of. So I don't know if it's a great fit for him this week to be playing, just coming in, just learning the system. Who knows? But I think it would behoove him to be on the 46-man roster, game day roster, just take the trip just to kind of see how the Texans do things, just to acclimate himself, even though the next 3 games are at home. But in all honesty, Vernon Hargreaves' ability to cover is going to be more important the next couple of games against the Colts and the Patriots.
Yes. Wapo has this, and I don't think it's Carlos Hyde, but Wapo nonetheless asks, any word on Will Fuller V? No word yet. Before the break, Bill O'Brien said all those guys that are injured are trending in the right direction. We'll see. We'll see if he's ready to go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really have no idea.
Injury report will probably not give us much. He's been limited this week, as have a number of guys, and we've seen it go both ways. We've seen guys be questionable on the injury report on Friday, play on Sunday. We've seen guys be questionable and not play. I think it's really going to be a game time decision for Will. Hopefully, when he does come back, he's 100%, so there's not a re-injury of that hamstring, and he can come on and play the last how many ever games he's going to play and be an impact player. Because when Will Fuller's at his best, as we saw against Atlanta, this offense is really hard to stop.
Mike has an interesting question. What improvements have the Texans made on offense this season? The one that stands out the most to me is pass protection, I think, is better. Yeah. And another thing, they're scoring more. Yeah. They're averaging 26 points a game. They're running the ball a lot better. And I think on the whole, the distribution has been a little bit more even across targets. Now, DeAndre Hopkins still gets the lion's share of those targets, but you're seeing other guys get involved as well.
And Hop's definitely getting those on third downs and fourth downs.
And why would you not go to your best offensive player when you need that play the most?
I agree wholeheartedly. To build on your point, Drew, I think what it has resulted in is better execution in the red zone. They have been really good on third and even fourth down.
Yes.
So I think those things have been good. And I think one thing that Tim Kelly hit on, it was actually a question he got at a press conference, was the offense's ability to sort of compartmentalize a mistake. Like, mistake happened, we false started.
Move on.
Let's go to the next play. Okay, it's 1st and 15.
Don't let the mistake from the previous play make it or happen again and kill you on the next play.
Absolutely. And I think this offense has done a really nice job of compartmentalizing those things, and it's led to better execution in the red zone, which leads to more touchdowns, more points. And I think guys have stepped up, honestly, that we didn't expect at the beginning of the year. You and I talked about Darren Fells. We thought he'd have an impact.
We were very optimistic about him, but we didn't think he'd have 6 touchdowns at this point.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. Carlos Hyde gets traded for Martinez Rankin, and I'll say this to Martinez. Martinez was a good dude here. He moved to Kansas City. He was doing a good job for Kansas City, and ended up hurting his knee. And I think he went on IR this week, and I hate that for him. So best of luck to Martinez.
Carted off Sunday.
But Carlos Hyde has been a revelation. Duke Johnson coming in has been fantastic. So they've gotten contributions up and down the roster. And what can you say about Kenny Stills? You know, like you said, protection. You added Laramie Tunsil. I mean, all the pieces came together. Now, those pieces have, they started putting the puzzle pieces together before the bye. Now it's time to finish the puzzle and show what this team can really be, this offense can really be after the bye.
Casey has this. Do you think the bye week helped prepare for a tough second half? I do, and for no other reason than it came at a time when you had some key guys that are banged up, nicked up, that we're likely going to see now healthy this Sunday, and if not this Sunday, on Thursday night.
Yeah. I think the bye week comes at a good time. I think everybody needed rest. You could tell the team was banged up, obviously. All you had to do is look at the injury report heading into the game in London. You take that long trip to London. I will say I saw a stat this week that said that teams off the London game, all coming off the byes,
they're 0-6 this year.
0-6 straight up and against the spread.
But I'm going to counter you with this, okay? Because it's a valid stat to keep in mind. But in the 5 years that Bill O'Brien's been here,
right,
after
I
the
think
bye,
it's more important.
After the bye, the game after the bye, the Texans have won 4 of those games. The one loss came at Seattle, Deshaun's rookie year, which was a shootout.
And you could argue that was one of their better played games.
Yeah. And that was a loss. So they're 4-1 after the bye in the games after the bye. All games after the bye in those 5 seasons, they are 21-19.
Right.
Okay, but you take out – so Deshaun played that 2017 game.
Right.
And then he was injured. He didn't play the rest of that. That was an early bye. They played 10 games after the bye that year.
Yeah.
They went 1-9.
Right.
So if you take that one season out, after the bye, the Texans are 20-9 in those other 4 years. So it's pretty good.
And here's another aspect with that. And I kind of hope this happens on offense. The one thing about the defense, the Romeo Crennel coach defense, is they seem to continue to gel and find itself in the second half.
And they're going to have to find themselves because they're without Watt, and that's you got to figure things out there.
There's no question. I think there will be some guys that step up, which leads us to Manny's question, which I think is a good one.
Manny wants to know, do you think our defense, although third against the rush, is actually ready for Lamar? Yeah, and I think you could actually counter that with, do you think Lamar and them are ready for this defense? Have they seen a defense like this? We're going to find out. They gashed the Patriots defense, which had come into that game. People were starting to compare them to historically great defenses, and they pantsed them. So it might have been one of those days where just New England didn't have it, and Baltimore was totally on. But we're going to find out on Sunday. This is a strength versus strength matching up, and we'll see which strength gets the better of the other.
It felt like, and look, when a team scores 37 points, it's not all luck, obviously, but the Patriots had them stopped down inside the 10-yard line the first drive, and then jumped offside in the field goal attempt. Gave the ball back to the Ravens. They scored the next play, and it's like that's just the kind of thing that you can't do against an offense like this. But when it comes to playing Lamar, I think you've got to be good at key spots. I think you've got to have fast linebackers to be able to track him sideline to sideline. You have guys like that with Zach Cunningham. You got to have a safety that can be multiple in the things that you can do, and that's Justin Reed. I think Justin's a big key in this game in tracking Lamar. And then you've got to have a team that tackles extremely well, because Lamar might look thin on TV, but he's 6'2", 218.
Pardon me.
He's a big guy, and I think the biggest thing about Lamar is he's slippery.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't take a lot of big hits, but you got to be able to bring him down. So he's not Roethlisberger or Luck in that regard, but you got to be able to get enough hands on him to be able to bring him down and wrap him up and take him to the ground, and that's not the easiest thing in the world. Cincinnati found out last week. 2 linebackers had a shot at him. He spun on him and took it 47 yards for a touchdown. So Lamar's it's gonna be an adjustment period. If there is some good news in all this, I guess, it's that you've had a couple guys up front that have faced him before.
Mm-hmm.
So there are some guys from Clemson that have faced him before. There are some guys from the ACC that have faced him before. I think Brandon Dunn was in the locker room, I want to say, in 2015 with him before. So there are some guys that know him. It's going to be an adjustment period up front, but if the Texans can do those things well, play some discipline, option responsibility type stuff against the run, then they're going to have a pretty good opportunity to at least keep him under control, and that's the biggest thing.
All right, man. It's going to be a fun one. John Harris, thank you. Tyler Marcotte making this happen, as well as Amanda Caffey. Thank you. And thank you to all of you for sending in your great questions. Sorry we couldn't get to all of them, but maybe next time. Sound good? All right, we'll see you later. Go Texans.